So the teaching is that we must stop fighting the fallen angels in the manner where we're trying to keep the old civilization that is passing away propped up. We need to understand that they're using the natural change of the cycle to install their new level, and they trick us into the Magog of trying to, like the little Dutch boy, they punch holes in the dike and they have us out there plugging the holes with our toes and our thumbs and our fingers, and we're all running around panicking about how they're punching holes, and then they get us upset and angry with them, and which only loosens us and gives them more power. And so what we have to do is, instead of trying to keep the old and cherished ways, we have to move ahead of them and create a new way, a new upper optionality in front of them that's ahead of them and not in competition with them and or trying to keep what is going to dissolve, because the new is going to replace the old with this cycle of shift from Pisces to Aquarius and Vishnu to Shiva. And so they're tricking us into this panicking and grudging and painful loss of the way things were, and are quickly losing even more and more of the way things that were right are lost, when we as a group need to create the new ahead of them and call down the upper optionality of God, and not waste our energy, and in fact give our energy to the fallen ones. And then we have to set that example. And so what we do is we look at all of the things that were good in the past, and look at all the things that were not good, and face the change that is necessary to be able to keep the good and to have it so that we don't get into this scenario anymore. And so it's why we spent so much time looking at what happened with the Summit Lighthouse Church Universal and Triumphant and its takeover by the Duffys, is because the way they took it over is the way that the fallen ones are taking over the planet right now. And so every time you fight them, they use the energy, because you're trying to keep something that's going to pass away. And so you deplete yourself in a fight against an evolutionary change, while they're building what it is that they want without any care in the world. And so we have to learn from that. We have to go, okay, so what is the lesson from the past? Well, the lesson from the past is that we can't have people without conscience just running amok. We can't have people without conscience, whether they're mechanization man or Meldekians or hybrid fallen angels to actual fallen angels doing their usual narcissist, sociopath, psychopath injection into positions of power, and they get in there because they come up with brilliant solutions to temporary problems, and then they start to create the problems so that they have to stay in that position of power, just like Lucifer did to keep himself in that angel ring of younger angels, so that he could just be the oldest and be the top guy. And so until, of course, he lagged. Lucifer is the first laggard, and was needing to go on, and so he had to bring his rebellion out into full criticism of God. And so, that about if God was a loving God, he would have saved Peshuelga's son against his free will. But at the same time, if God was a true loving God, he gave Lucifer complete free will, then Lucifer should be allowed to do anything he wants, and of course, meaning that because Lucifer wasn't able to do anything he wanted, which was, of course, to destroy the Christic evolution, therefore God didn't give him complete free will, and that Lucifer was just a robot, an automaton, and therefore God should save everyone against their free will, because we're robots anyways. And so he got caught in that double snare where he complains that God's not loving because he didn't save Peshuelga against his free will, Peshuelga's son against his free will, committing suicide, and yet at the same time demands to have free will, where he gets to criticize God and exterminate an evolution of God's beings, and then says, well, if you don't let me do that, then I don't have free will. Then you should have saved Peshuelga's son against his free will, because you're just lying and saying that we have free will, when I don't have free will to do anything I want. And so this is the kind of fallen angel logic that led to the situation we're in right now, where they just want what they want, and they're willing to go to self-extermination to get it, and all they have to do is just karma dodge and put their time off and play their petty games of control, superiority, and all of that. And this is where we're at, is that we're at that place where we have to look at all of the stuff that was good, and we have to look at all of the stuff that wasn't good, and we have to understand that the stuff that we deeply loved and cherished because it was right and because it was so good, it all reflects the relationship that we were told long ago that we were to have, which is the relationship of the masters in the retreats, is self-respect. Self-respect. You don't put you respect yourself enough to not put your things onto other people, onto other beings, and that then is a mutual self-respect and a mutual respect. And this is why our group is this sort of pressure cooker, where we're to learn to do that and to not project onto each other, and to set an example of the future idea. And so we have to look at what it was from the past that was good, what it was that was the snare, and the thing that made it not good. And of course it is the fallen angel influence and all of their manipulations and lying and viance and Magog and Magog. For us to have a golden age civilization, we have to move from trying to keep what wasn't good, even though there was all this good in it, right? And having these guys move on and use the momentum of the change of the cycle, and have us just bickering and fighting against each other, acting out the Gog and Magog interpersonally, socially, culturally, racially, etc. And so our job as the Brethren group is to be brethren, Our job as the Brethren group is to be like to bring that relationship of the masters into the social, cultural, interpersonal relationship, set that blueprint, make the call for God to bring that down, to grab that upper optionality, and we find that this is the culture of the golden age of Saint Germain, and how we had such a good glimpse of that culture at the time of Atlantis, and how these guys just got in there and did this panic thrash thing and forced the takeover and the sinking of Atlantis. And so we're just, as Philos said, we're Atlantis come again. And this, he said that in those days the laws were written in stone, but in these days the laws are written on the walls of your heart, in your heart. The laws are written in your heart, and so this is where we have to go. And so as a group, each of us has to look into your lives of where you have these cherished beliefs and cherished ideas, and these circumstances in which there was tremendous love and investment in that, but it's going to pass away, and we have to be able to salvage it by bringing that into a better format of the future, rather than trying to save that which is going to pass away. And so my grandparents' house, I keep having this urge to go and make a bunch of money, and then buying that house back and fixing it up to the way it used to be, and because it was butchered, and I got to let it go. I got to let that go because it's the same as my mom and her house here. I had such wonderful grandparents, and I loved my childhood time that I got to spend with them. It was sanctuary against the other parts of my life, and it's the same here as my mom's house. I'm like, but we have to live for the matrix and the ideation and the life that is to be, not the one that was, because it's passing away, and really fueling the fallen ones through our consternation and our violence and our Gog and Magog, and picking on each other and projecting onto each other and all of that. And that's why it was such a big deal in our group, because this has to come. This is why it's autonomous, self-correcting chelas with a capital C. And here we are. We have this teaching from Taleb, Nassim Taleb, about anti-fragile, that we have to choose those upper optionalities. We have to go to God and say, look, we get it now. We're hermeticists. We're students of the Ascended Masters. We're sponsored chelas, and what you want is for us to realize, that this autonomy that we're looking for is autonomy not only from the fallen angels, but the implant that's in us mentally and emotionally, which is anti-Christ, and then biologically anti-God. And so we're going to keep working on this, and we're going to learn. But the key concept is that we no longer look to save and prop up that which is going to pass away. We look to what was right and what was good, like the Constitution and the Constitutional Republic and all of that, right? That we take that and put it into a future where we have no more deferring like children decision making to fallen ones and or their agents, their plebes, their lackeys, because they set up scenarios where there's all this, difficulty, and we'd rather let them, the big mouths, fight it out, and whatever they choose, we'll just go along with. That's over. We have to call a spade, and then live with the fact that means you're going to have to start making decisions and do things. And if you want a better leadership, then you better be that leadership. And that's what happened, like for me personally, with the Duffys, right? I mean, it's one thing to define when people are doing things wrong. It's another thing to set an example of how to do it right, and to go through all of the wrangling and to make sure that side of us that is narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic, that is antichrist, that is fallen angel, is seen, and a decision is made about it in the microcosm of our nature, and that we raise ourselves up higher to a place where we can transcend that inside, so that we can transcend it in our group, which then sets a blueprint for transcending it socially, culturally, planetarily. And the world is hungry for this. They just don't know. And we've got all these children of God. They're just looking for leadership that they can feel is good. And then we have all of these other ones that, they're going to go with the fallen angels because they've been humiliated and they did their best, and they have this lie going on inside of them, which is their carnal mind and dweller and the demons that possess them. And so you have all of these well-intending individuals who are really spiritually on ice, and they're performing recreational spirituality. And to bring them the truth that we've been having, brought to us, and it's been very hard on our egos. Like, we're supposed to be, discharging humblings and not humiliations, but there's been lots of humiliations. And it's because we're still identified as with our carnal minds, right? And so we have to figure out the pattern through that and get that right. And we are. And the keys are being given to us. This whole thing on Hermeticism and all of this understanding and learning from the masters that we've had, to the learning and discovering that there's all these keys that were put in the past that were time capsules waiting for us in the present. But we will not accomplish what we need to do by simply watching the cataclysm flow by, and we sit there like sportscasters, describing the chaos and the collapse, and we're doing more than that. Of course, we're making calls and all of that. But for the ones who are involved in the recreational psychology and in the recreational spirituality, they're there making calls on the thing, but they're doing it from being on one side or the other, right? You have the ones that are doing all of the spiritual dance. You have all the ones that are doing the bhajans. You have all of the ones that are, that are Republicans, and you have all of the. I mean, you can't change what's happening by being on one side of Gog or Magog. You have to transcend the Gog Magog and go to a solution that God has, and that not only needs to be understood and emotionally owned, but physically carried out. And we're talking about down to the biology of reclaiming, uncapping the 46th chromosome and activating the 48th chromosome, and we do this by the Son becoming one with the soul, the Christ being one with the bridegroom of the Christ becoming wed to the soul, and the Christ one with the soul is one with the Father, and then the soul becomes the bride of the Holy Spirit, and Christ plus the Holy Spirit equals the Buddha being one with the mother. The mother then is able to be that quench, the spiritual quench, or shall we say backcatcher's mitt that can hold the Father in the physical, and that we will become this Father presence incarnate through the Buddha, and be indomitable, be unstoppable, be above the reach of these fallen angels, which is their reach is only Christ. They can't reach above Christ. And so I've been really trying to get this recording to work, and I thought I was done, I could go back to sleep, but I thought, oh, just play it just once. I thought, and of course what happened was the tablet is designed to go to sleep after a certain period, and so I had to redo the recording. So okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.